I can still picture the look on his face the moment it happened. The night I said something I can never take back. It was supposed to be a joke. Something careless, harmless, but it wasn't. Ryan, his best friend Ethan, and I were sitting around a dining table. The three of us had known each other for years, long enough that conversations flowed easily, though lately, things between Ryan and me had been strained. The laughter that used to fill our evenings had turned into silence that lingered too long, heavy and uncomfortable. Ethan had just made a joke about married couples losing their spark, and without thinking, I laughed and said, "Maybe that's because your best friend knows my body better than you do." The words barely left my mouth before the air froze. Ethan stopped mid-sip, eyes wide, and Ryan's fork hovered halfway to his mouth. I tried to wave it off, forcing a laugh, tucking my hair behind my ear. "Relax, I was kidding," I said lightly. But Ryan didn't laugh, not even a hint of a smile. His gaze locked on mine, sharp, unreadable, ice-cold. The silence was suffocating. Ethan coughed awkwardly, muttering something to break the tension, but Ryan stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "You think that's funny?" he asked, his tone too calm to be safe. My mouth went dry. "Ryan, come on, it was just a stupid joke." "Is it?" he cut in, his voice steady but laced with anger, because it sounded pretty specific to me. Ethan mumbled that he should probably go, but Ryan didn't even glance at him. He just turned and walked toward the kitchen, his jaw tight. I followed, desperate to explain, but he stopped me with a raised hand. "I've heard enough," he said quietly, more than I ever wanted to. That night, he didn't come to bed. I lay awake listening to hum of the refrigerator, trying to understand how a single careless line had torn something deep open between us. By morning, the coffee pot was still full. His car keys were gone, and next to my half-finished mug sat his wedding ring. The first 2 days, I told myself he just needed time. Ryan always cooled off alone. But by the third, the silence felt colder, intentional. He stopped answering calls, ignored my texts. Even Ethan went quiet, and somehow that silence hurt even more. I kept replaying that dinner in my head, the shock in Ryan's eyes, the disbelief, the pain. I hadn't meant it. Ethan and I had been friends long before Ryan came along. There was nothing between us. But words have a way of sounding like truth when said at the wrong time. I finally drove to Ryan's workshop that evening. His truck was parked outside, and when I walked in, he barely looked up. "You shouldn't be here," he said flatly. "I just need to explain," I whispered. He lifted his eyes, red and tired. "Explain what?" "That my wife thinks my best friend knows her body better." I winced at how bitter the words sounded. "It was a joke, Ryan. You know how I get when I'm nervous." "No!" he snapped, slamming a wrench onto the workbench. "I don't know who you are anymore. Maybe that's the real problem." Tears blurred my vision. "You're twisting this into something it's not." "Am I?" he said, his voice cracking slightly. "Because Ethan's been distant too. Makes me wonder why he couldn't even look at me that night." My heart dropped. "Don't do this. You know Ethan wouldn't." "I thought I knew you," he said softly, looking away. Neither of us spoke after that. The faint clink of tools filled the space where our words used to live. When I took a step closer, he took one back. The distance between us became something solid. "Go home," he said quietly. "Please." I left, but something inside me shattered that night. Back home, I scrolled through my messages until I found Ethan's last one from a week ago. "We probably shouldn't hang out so much anymore. Ryan's starting to notice things." My chest tightened. Notice things? There had never been anything inappropriate. But now, even innocent moments, shared jokes, knowing glances, felt heavier, suspicious in hindsight. The damage was already done. The next morning, I couldn't take the not knowing anymore. I drove to Ethan's apartment. He looked startled to see me, pale, uneasy. "Sarah, you shouldn't be here," he said quickly, glancing past me as if Ryan might appear. "I need to know," I said, my voice trembling. What did you mean by that message? What was Ryan starting to notice? Ethan hesitated, rubbing the back of his neck. He's been suspicious for a while. The way we talked, our inside jokes, how comfortable we are, he thinks there's something between us. My stomach twisted. There isn't. I know, he said quietly. But after what you said that night, he exhaled. It sounded real, Sarah. You looked him right in the eye. Anyone would have believed it. Tears filled my eyes. I was trying to make him laugh. Things were so tense, I just wanted to ease it. He shook his head. You lit fire instead. We stood there, trapped in the fallout of a single sentence neither of us could undo. Then he added softly, Ryan called me yesterday, told me not to contact you again. That hit harder than I expected. Ryan didn't just lose trust. He'd erased the one person who understood what really happened. I left without another word. When I got home, the house felt hollow. Ryan's clothes were gone. His tools, his coffee mug. Everything that made it ours had disappeared. On the counter sat a folded note. My hand shook as I opened it. I loved you enough to believe your words were just careless. But I can't live in a house where I question every silence. Maybe someday you'll understand what that joke cost us. That night, I sat in the kitchen holding the note to my chest, realizing how fragile love can be, how one misplaced sentence can echo louder than years of devotion. Weeks passed. Ryan never came back. But that dinner still replays in my mind. The laughter, the stillness, the moment everything changed. Sometimes I still hear his voice, soft and hurt. You think that's funny? No, Ryan. It never was.